Hi, welcome to the Leadership Lab. Product management is one of the most lucrative profiles in the pharmaceutical industry. A lot of students pursue Pharma MBA to enter this domain. We have with us Mr. Abhijeet Goon, who has made things happen for himself. A B Pharm from Nirma University and an MBA in Pharmaceutical Management from Naipur Mohali. Mr. Abhijeet Goon has more than 8 years of work experience with some of the top companies like GlaxoSmithKline, Cipla. He has also spearheaded the Ashwamedha campaign for one of the most famous brands, Augmentin. He has been awarded on several occasions for his contribution and performances. He is currently the Associate General Manager Marketing at Lilac Insights. A hardcore foodie and a passionate cricket lover, we welcome Mr. Abhijeet Goon at the Leadership Lab.
Uh, all right, welcome guys to the Leadership Lab. And first of all, thank you so much, Abhijit, for joining us at the Leadership Lab and sharing your time and also your experience with our students. Uh,
My pleasure always.
Thank you. My first question, Abhijit, will be the straight one. Abhijit, what is your current job profile and what do you exactly do right
Yeah. So currently I work as a marketing and CRM head at Lilac Insights. Lilac Insights is India's leading genetic health assessment center, uh, available across India, present in more than 100 cities with having four satellite labs and one main lab at Navi Mumbai. Now, as the role suggests, marketing and CRM head. So the CRM role is pretty new, just 3 months old for me. But marketing head was something that I was hired for at Lilac Insights. If I have to broadly tell you what my job encompasses, the top three things that we do is strategize, implement, and monitor the marketing plan for the overall business as well as individual brands. Now, within the if you say within the diagnostic space, branding is very few, right? Generally, the branding happens for the lab. So you have a Metropolis lab, you have a Dr. Lal lab, right? But you don't have individual brands. What we have tried to do is we have created our own brand. So each test, the key tests have been branded. So look after their brand strategies as well as the overall marketing strategies. Going slightly into detail, if I have to share, we look at how we can contribute to the company's growth and make plans in line to what the business wants to achieve, and thereby create campaigns and track them. Track the campaigns as well as the brand KPIs, key performance indicators, which tells us the brand's health and are we moving in the right direction or not. Preparing a marketing budget, facilitate campaign implementation, because the marketing team creates the campaigns, has to be implemented by the sales or customer facing teams. So we work with them so that it gets executed properly. Regularly monitor various data points. What has happened across over the last few years, and I would not say just 2 to 5 years, but last 10 years or so, there has been a lot of data points that have been available to the marketing team. So we have to monitor the data points and take decisions based on those data points. That becomes a very critical part nowadays. Then ensure multi-channel strategy. Now this is again what's new in healthcare marketing, if I have to say. So earlier there was only sales rep, right, in the pharma and the healthcare space. Now there are multiple channels that are being used by companies to reach their customers, be it doctors, be it patients. So have a multi-channel strategy and see its execution, and how can we reach to newer customers. So this broadly describes my marketing role. The CRM role, as I told you, is pretty new for me. So every day is a learning day. We are trying to set up the whole CRM process. So we are trying to learn from different industries, what others have been doing good, so that we can try and learn from them and implement for us. So CRM is fairly new. We are trying to provide service that delights the customer. We are trying to have campaigns which help us acquire and manage customers. So acquire new customers, manage current customers, and as well as help the customers with their complaints, or understand their complaints, give them solutions, and handle their queries. So that's basically the CRM role. In the CRM role, we are also trying to set up a new process. We are trying to set up a new software and IT capabilities to manage the CRM. And more importantly, as a manager, so this is my first role as a manager. I have 7 people reporting into me currently. So as a leader, it is very important for me to keep the team motivated and ensure that they are on their developmental journey continuously. So how do I do that? By giving them training, either in-house training or external training, give them projects and make them participate in workshops and continuous mentoring. So that broadly and with certain amount of detail describes what I do currently. Hope that satisfies you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Abhijit. And Abhijit, how would you describe your journey? Like from, I think from your education point of view, your B Farm, then your Pharma
Hmm.
MBA, then the
Hmm.
first job, and to this particular position that you are right now. So
Yes.
if you would like to just tell us something more about that particular journey or your experience in that phase.
So B Farm happened to me by chance. It was not a choice. That's a very interesting story. Not for the current consumption, but I'll tell you sometime later.
Okay, all right.
It happened because of a friend, and I was to choose engineering, but there was no seats for engineering. That happens in counseling. So the last option that I chose was Nirma B Pharmacy, because I wanted to get into a good institute at least. The course can still be secondary, but a good institute helps you uh, in various aspects. And I got admission into pharmacy, and I quite liked it. Healthcare, so initially wanted to be a doctor, then engineer, all those fluctuations during the teenage years, that happens. Pharma excited me, anything to deal with the body, biology, always excited me. So then I kept on doing it. Over the last year of my B Farm, we were exposed to marketing, and that excited me a lot. Before that, typically in the first 3 years, you are only exposed to doing research and how will you make a drug, make a wonder drug that will treat different kind of ailments. So that was interesting. But the last year, when I was exposed to marketing, really changed my point of view. Then I discussed with my seniors, mentors, whom I consider till date, and go to them whenever I have an issue. So they told me that you're fit for marketing. They helped me understand what is there in me, or what they see in me that made them understand that I can be a good fit for marketing. So I joined Niper MBA. Why I did pharma marketing and not do general marketing? Again, something that is always that is where the students are always at a crossroad. Do a general marketing or pharma marketing, specifically B Farm students. So I didn't want to waste the 4 years of B Farm that I had done, because the moment you get into general marketing, you can't decide that you will always get into healthcare. So I said, okay, pharma marketing is still niche. And at that time, 2010-12, there were only a handful of institutes who were giving pharma marketing as a formal learning. So joined Niper. Then within Niper also, as you move ahead, you have choices to be made. Either you go into core marketing or you go into consultancy. That's again a very big dilemma that a student in Pharma MBA faces. Some people are very clear, but in general, 90% of the population will have this. Should I go into consultancy? Should I go into core? So I did my summer internship in GSK. That was the first company that came in, got selected. And summer internship actually helped me decide what I wanted to do. Because of my summer internship, I went across India, traveled 8 cities, looked how sales team interact with doctors, how marketing teams interact with sales team, uh, what happens in communication creation, how is the communication going. So that helped me decide that, okay, this is what I want to do, this is my calling. So let's get into marketing. So the next task was prepare hard so that you get selected in GSK for your final placement. So got selected there, and it was wonderful. I think all this Nirma, Niper, and GSK, I think those 12 years that I've spent, I think that will definitely define me and is helping me define myself, what I do. Uh, Went in Sipla for a year for a career change, wanted to get into a support role, wanted to test waters. And there I felt after 6 to 8 months that okay, support function, I am not made for support function. It doesn't excite me. I need the daily grind, the daily pressure of sales and campaigns, and uh, how are you always into the midst of the action. So not demeaning support function role, they are very, very important, and thereby without support functions, the core functions will not work. But that's what I felt, and thereby the first opportunity that came in, I was not looking out, but the first opportunity that came in, again a very exciting role, a startup, uh, coming from two big corporate houses, GSK as well as Cipla, that was again challenging. So I think uh, I felt that okay, this will help me learn more about myself and how the industry operates, how does a startup operate. So I joined Lilac Insights, and the 1 year I just completed a year last week, I think has been really wonderful for me.
That's great. As long as you are enjoying your work, that's more important.
Yeah, I think that's what anybody who starts looking for a job, be it as a fresher or for a changeover, should look at what excites them. I think the faster you learn and understand what excites you, the better you will be placed for your long career.
Absolutely. Abhijit, what is the current market scenario going on with respect to the profile that you're working in? So, what kind of growth opportunities are available for students who wish to enter into your domain? And what kind of skill sets are expected by the industry
Hmm.
from these students?
Okay, so the current industry scenario has slightly changed over the last few years. From the time that I joined, I will not be able to tell you before I joined, but from the time I joined, uh, things that have changed is there's been more talk about content and channel, which was not there when we passed out from college. When we passed from college, and at that time, marketing was more about pharma marketing specifically was more about how do you interact through the sales rep, what kind of strategies that you need to build, and strategies around marketing through the sales force. But over the last few years, that has changed, and more talk has been about content and channel. Now, content was very, very important across ages. You see the black and white print ads to radio ads to anything. Content is always important. If you don't have the right content, you will not be able to engage the audience that you want to engage to. But the channel has been very, very critical in the last few years, and I think the marketeers in the current genre have to bring their A game with respect to channel and content. That's key. Otherwise, your strategy, if it doesn't have a good channel mix, if your strategy doesn't involve how are you going to communicate and uh, have a good plan around the content, I think that will fail. uh, from a marketing point of view, not from an organization point of view, but from a marketing point of view. So that has been there. The other important thing that has changed is data driven marketing. So data was there erstwhile also, but data was limited. So you had for pharma, where I've spent a majority of my career, 7 years out of 8. So there was IMS data, there was CMARC data, there was SMSRC data, or you say AWACS data. These data points were there, and over and above that, you had the sales reps reach coverage data. You had nothing else. Now, all the major pharma companies are using electronic tools like your tablets or iPads to do in-clinic communication, which is throwing a lot of data about which doctors have been met when, uh, how much time is spent by the rep inside the doctor's chamber on which kind of brand, emails being sent through those tools. So a lot of data has been generated, and then you have your social media marketing, your doctor networking platforms. All this is throwing a lot of data. So data analysis and data driven marketing, these are the few changes that have happened specifically in healthcare marketing, right, over the last few years. Therefore, I think the students that are entering in this field, or people who have joined new, have to show that willingness that they want to improve on such skills, improve on data analysis using different channels, and focusing on content. They need to work on this. Otherwise, what happens is you have a lot of data points. If you are not aware about how to go about it, what analytical tools to apply, apply, you will be overwhelmed with the data that is thrown at you, and you end up working on wrong data points, and you don't get the results that you want. So therefore, it becomes very important that you have a sound understanding about data analytics also. People who want to also, the other point that has changed, I think the customers have been more and more vocal now with the new channels that are available, social media channels specifically. People are using the websites, they are registering complaints if they're not happy with your product. E-commerce platforms everywhere, they're talking about what is not right with the product, or what is not right about the experience that they're getting. So you need to understand what the customer is saying, read it properly, dissect it, and then act on it. Otherwise, the customers have so many options nowadays for any particular uh, category, that the switch is very easy. Making the switch is also easy, and the options available are also a plenty. Therefore, customer voice of the customer is becoming very important, and understanding about that is also important. If you have to talk about the skill set, I think the expectations have been same for many years. The expectation is whatever is being taught to you and the role that you are entering, you should know about your role, where you are entering, right? The good part is now many institutions are available which give you formal education in marketing, right? Specifically healthcare or pharma marketing. So the talent pool that is available with the industry is also large now. So the industry has many options to search a right candidate. If you have to specifically share certain skills or understanding that the healthcare pharma industry wants the marketing graduates to have, those who are entering into marketing, are analytical skills, good communication, creativity, agility, because a lot of new thing is coming up, new channels, new type of marketing. So agility, networking, another key aspect that was not very important 5 to 10 years back. Now networking is very, very important. Marketing acumen, that remains the basic. Multi-channel marketing knowledge, and basic content writing. Again, basic content writing is something that is not taught in the institutes, in our curriculum. But I think if people can build that skill to a basic level also, it will help them stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
Through this medium, you are trying to influence people, and I think this is something that was not available to us 8 to 10 years back when we wanted to enter the industry.
Okay. Thank you. Abhijit, overall, as you said just right now, that a particular medium, this medium was not available. Apart from that, there might be several other challenges that you would have faced eventually to be able to reach to this particular point. Any couple of challenges that you vividly remember, and how you tried to work on those challenges and get over them?
Pranav, challenges basically when you are moving from campus to corporate, right? You will face, because what you are learning was, I would say, still more theoretical. When you come to the corporate world, you find that it's not as structured as you learned in college, through your curriculum, right? The steps are not exactly followed in line, right? So you have to multitask. Multitasking is something that is not taught to us during college, right? We are always told to do one task at a time, do it better. But come to uh, come to the corporate world, there are times when you have to do multitasking. Not always, but there are times that you have to do multitasking. So there are challenges that I think in general, I would say what people have faced, because my challenges may not be helpful for others or may not be faced by others. But in general, if I have to say some of the challenges that I would have faced, and I've seen my friends, my colleagues, my peers face, that has bothered them, are time management. Very, very important. As I said, you have to multitask. One of the key reason for that is maybe you're not able to manage your time properly, and thereby you end up doing multitasking. Presentation skills, again, a lot of that is not being emphasized in college. Some of them have inborn good presentation or public speaking skills, but majority of them don't have. So presentation and public speaking skills. Networking, again, uh, not taught in campus. Making a switch in career, this is again a very key challenge, I would say. People, uh, it's like calling out the elephant in the room, right? There are times when you have to take that decision, and that's a very important step, and is challenging when you want to take that switch, when you want to make that switch. Getting stuck in your profile for a long time, you start to then become complacent, and you start to have prejudices about steps that you need to take. So if you get stuck in your profile for a long time, you are killing your learning. You're stopping to learn new things. So that's again a very important challenge to identify and then overcome it. I would not give you very particular examples how I have overcome this, but in general, if you face these challenges in today's day and age, the best thing that you can do is identify a mentor or a coach as soon as possible as you enter the corporate world. Identify a right mentor, build that relationship with the mentor, uh, call out the mentor and say that I am looking up to you as a mentor, as a coach, and what kind of relation you want to uh, start building with them, when and how you will be communicating with them, maybe from your same organization, maybe an industry veteran, anybody, but identify a mentor or a coach. Faster the better. Then there are books and videos and stuff available on internet which you can uh, go to overcome challenges like time management, presentation skills. You can enroll in courses. There are self-learning, self-paced courses available on various online networks, right? So these are the ways that you can overcome such challenges. If I have to say one challenge that I overcome through such an step was when I had to make the first switch from my first organization to second organization. And I read a book which helped me a lot to make certain decisions and either be sure of what I was doing, and also to help me understand what are the next things that I need to do when I make the switch. So the first and foremost, the most important, identify a mentor or a coach as soon as you get into the corporate world. Even before that can be really helpful. And the next is, whenever you're stuck, there is a lot of material available on the internet that you can go to. Books, videos, courses can help you overcome all of these challenges.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Abhijit. Nicely answered, actually. I'm sure a lot of students could relate to the common challenges that you already mentioned about. So, yes, there are a lot of students even today facing these challenges. In fact, right from our times, rather, you can say,
Yes,
even
yes,
before
yes.
that. So, the challenges have remained constant, I believe.
Constant.
Just the way of overcoming those challenges differs year by
Yes,
year. Yeah,
it has become, I think, now easier because of the materials available, the
right.
access to all of this stuff that is available. The organizations are also, so in GSK we had a lot of my learning available, where there are courses, so short courses like an hour's course or 3 to 5 hours course, which you do to understand and help you with time management, public speaking, presentations, which are really helpful. The next thing is, once you go through them, you practice them. Otherwise, it's of no use.
Yes, implementing what you learn is more necessary, I
More
feel.
important. Yes.
Absolutely. Abhijit, any specific, as you just mentioned about one of the books that you read which helped you to make
Hmm.
that big decision,
Hmm.
any specific books that you would like to recommend to our students for reading for self-development or anything of that sort?
Uh, Pranav, again, reading is very subjective, and I read as per the situation that I am in. So I'm
Okay.
not a fiction lover, so I'm not a very voracious reader. Uh, Generally, people who read fiction are more voracious reader. That's my perception, maybe completely wrong, but that's what I've seen in my life. I read as per the situation. So whenever I'm stuck, I try to pick up a book that helps me come out of that situation. Self-help again can be very boring if it has been forced on you. So a person who wants to read a self-help book needs to identify that, okay, I need to read a self-help book, because there are many self-help books which may be interesting, rewarding, and have been followed by a lot of people. But what happens is, because you didn't pick up the book yourself and you have been forced to do it, you don't implement it. So currently I'm reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is something, again, I read a lot on Twitter, internet. Yes, a wonderful book. So I read one chapter every night, and then the next day onwards try to implement what I learned in the last night. I miss sometimes, but then I try to utilize and implement what I learned. So I found that book really interesting, because initially I used to think self-help books are of no use. So having read 3-4 books, I think it is important for the person who wants to utilize that book to pick up the book themselves. They can go on Twitter or Google and understand, get feedback about the books, and then pick up, like Power of Habits, 7 Habits of Highly
Effective people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, if 7 Habits is not picked by you and has been forced, can be really, really boring, right? But if you understand the benefits of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and you have gone through the videos, then you understand that, okay, it's how it is helpful. And the second book that I've recommended to a lot of colleagues who worked with me were leaving the organization, or friends also, is Catalyst by Mr. Chandramouli Venkatesan, ex-Asian Paints and Mondelez stalwart. Again, Catalyst is something that I prefer reading every 6 months, because there are points which are so important, beautifully highlighted, and so explained with such simplicity that you just relate to it. I think Catalyst is something that I would recommend. If not as a student, as you join the corporate world, you should start reading it. It helps you clear your concerns and also understand different facets of your journey, corporate journey.
Right. And Abhijit, one last question from my end, and then we'll have
Okay.
the students to ask you a few questions. Any message for the upcoming pharmacist or all the students who would be watching this video? Any message from your end for them?
Well, I think to the pharmacist, you are a better person to give them an opinion and talk about it, because what has happened is, over the last uh, 3 to 4 years, basically, I've lost that connect with the BPharm curriculum and what is happening post BPharm. But if you ask me post MBA and what can be done, I'll be able to answer it better. Uh, there are various options. I think there was one article that I had shared with you. So there are various options available post MBA marketing that people do, right? And some of them can be your basic marketing, be it domestic or international. You can join sales. People who love sales, there are people who for whom sales is a calling. So domestic, international sales, good money to be earned there. Digital marketing, you may need to do some additional courses for it if your college curriculum has not brushed upon or uh, has a lot of emphasis on digital marketing. You can do a lot of online courses, free as well as paid courses available across various platforms. Market research, you can get into consultancy. Advertising, big advertising agencies are now spreading into healthcare business, so they need that understanding. What I feel is, good number of agencies and good agencies lack an understanding about how the healthcare industry operates, and thereby try to emulate strategies that work in different industries into pharma or healthcare, and that doesn't work. So you can, and I know people who have done BPharm MBA, Pharma MBA, and then joined advertising agencies and are doing really well. You can get into client servicing. Project management is another task. project management can be in the corporate or at plants. You can become lobbying experts. Again, something that you can get after doing a drug. You can give MBA के बाद you can do a drug inspector course or apply for that job and then become a lobbying experts, or without that also can become lobbying experts. Again, it's thought about as a taboo job, but I think there is great amount of, again, money involved that can be earned. People who want to earn that, everybody wants to earn that, but for whom that's the most important thing. And then you can become executive assistants to MDs and CXOs, where there's a lot of learning and a fast-paced learning at the start of your career. So that's also something that I see a lot of my friends, juniors, trying to get into, and has been very rewarding for some of them. The one message that I would like to give to budding marketeers, pharma marketeers specifically, the environment that in which we are operating. Earlier, it was very plain simple. There is a sales rep who goes and meets customers, doctors, and how do you use that channel most effectively is what you were told to and you learn, right? Specifically in pharma marketing. But now the environment is changing. There are various channels that are being used by the organizations. So you need to be abreast with the latest happening that's happening in your field or domain, whichever you are. So read a lot, watch, listen, and keep learning more about the latest and future trends that can impact your career specifically. So if you ask me, when I was in college, data analytics was not talked about, but now data analytics is the most important thing, right? People who don't have computer engineering or computer language background, learning R and Python, right? AI is the buzzword, and it's going to stay and impact our future drastically. So you need to know what are the future trends that are going to impact your career and get more and more information about the trends, as well as try and learn them, as many of them as possible. Today, the learning opportunities are immense. There are a lot of free courses available. Do them, as many as you can do. And as a student, you have the time to do it.
What about internships? Like, how would you recommend internships over certificate courses?
Getting internships is tough, Pranav. We all know that if you want to get it from a good organization, it's tough. People like you have been helping students to get internship. I think that's a commendable job. I have personally also told you that how important a job that you're doing and how you're impacting the whole community. But getting internships is not always easy, right? Because if you're doing an internship and if you're not working on a project that's going to impact the organization, you're not learning so much. And people will only involve you into such deep projects that impact the organization only when they trust you, know you. There's a lot of complexities involved around it. So
Right.
getting internships is not that easy, but free courses can help you. And if you think so, I am now currently hooked to EDX. I've recommended it to a lot of my friends also. So EDX is a platform by Stanford, I think Stanford University. There are a lot of courses available on them. So you first do the course. If you find that the course is really helpful and you want a certificate, you pay. Otherwise, you don't pay. And the courses there are from Wharton, Columbia, and all reputed universities.
Right.
So you can get to know from the experts. And if you feel that it's important for me to have that certificate, it's going to add value to my CV or to my profile, then pay up for it. Otherwise, just learn.
Right. Absolutely.
But nothing beats internship. If you are able to get it, I think nothing like it.
Sure. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Abhijeet, for your time and for all the information that you have provided. I'll ask our students to join us as well for a few questions, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, sure. Great.
Yeah, Hiral, if you could please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So I
Hi,
have
Hiral.
just one question. Sir, do recruiters give more priority to B school students over NIPER students, or they are open equally towards both of them? Because NIPER में तो you don't have to give MBA exams; they are completely different. So is there like
So Hiral, if I hear you, is there a discrimination between uh, NIPER graduates and other B school graduates, right?
yeah, while
So,
recruiting for a job?
okay. So if you are getting into a management trainee profile for commercial role like marketing, you have to, there is not a big discrimination. There are discrimination on the pay scales that certain organizations give. And there are certain roles for which they hire only from top B schools like IIMs or ISBs. But otherwise, NIPER MBA, be it Hyderabad, Mohali, you have IIHMR, you have Pumba, you have NMIMS, all of these are equivalent. And I would just like to rectify what you said, Heathen. If you have to get into NIPER MBA, you have to first give GPAT, qualify, then give NIPER, qualify, then attend GDPI, and based on your NIPER score and GDPI score, you get a chance to be in the top 30. So there's a lot of effort that goes into even cracking NIPER. Say with NMIMS, you have to give NMAT. So that happens. So there are equal tests for I think all the colleges, barring CAT for IIMs. So you have to give the relevant exam wherever you want to get to. But basically, there are two segregations: tier 1 colleges and tier 2. Tier 1 are your top B schools like IIM and ISBs, and maybe XLRI. XLRI, I have seen from my GSK and CIPLA experience that XLRI students basically hired for HR roles. But otherwise, the role that IIM graduates and NIPER or NM graduates do are same, right? All of them have to do the same internship, start with a sales role. The tenure of the sales role may be different, but the sales marketing stints move similarly for both IIM students as well as NIPER NM students.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you very much. That was helpful.
Match. Khusbhoo, if you could please ask a question.
So my question is, what was your experience, or what is the difference you had in the core companies like Glenmark or JSK and the startup companies?
Okay. Uh, so I had the opportunity to experience a large established corporate like GSK, which is at that time 80 years old in India. So I think the basic difference, that is structured processes and SOPs, which are present in large corporates, which are missing in startups. But otherwise, the learning, I think the speed of learning is very high in the startups compared to large corporates. In the large corporates, what will happen is you may have different learnings speeds for different graduates who have entered at the same year, right? But if you get into a startup, you're learning, all of them who get into startups, the learning is accelerated because the environment is very, very dynamic. The other part is the unstructuredness also helps in startup because you can take decisions faster. The hierarchy is pretty flat, so you directly are interacting with the directors or HODs. Whereas for the same, if you are a new joinee in a large corporate, you'll have to report to a marketing manager who reports to a GM marketing, who reports to a VP, who reports to MD. So the decision making is very, very layered. Whereas in startups, the decision making is faster, and because of the flat hierarchy. These are the basic challenges. What happens is in larger corporates, you work with prejudices, or at least your bosses work with prejudices, or your managers have prejudices because of either their experience or what they have seen across the years in that organization. Whereas in startup, the prejudices are small. or less, right? So you can try and fail. Larger corporates have bigger pockets to spend on good things and spend on useless stuff also. Whereas when you're in a startup, every pie matters. So you're actually taking the right decisions and you're spending on stuff which will actually take the startup ahead and help you achieve the goal faster, right? Um, Agility
Okay.
is very high, so you quickly curate the campaigns. So if your campaign is not going as per the plan, you stop the campaign because you don't want to spend extra money in a startup. But whereas in a large corporate, you will be allowed, or you will have, I would say, you will have the bandwidth and the sleeve to try and fail more in a large corporate.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. That was helpful.
I think both at the start of your career, like both have pros and cons. Like I started from a large corporate, so I knew what structure means, what standard operating procedures mean, which now I am able to implement in my role. So that way it has helped me. But you will have people who have worked in startup and learned a lot, maybe learned faster than me. But this way I feel is better. If you have worked in a large corporate, your learning, uh, your standardized learning is better.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Priyal, if you could please ask a question.
Yes, sir. So I would like to ask at the start, like in the interview, if anyone is like with no experience, not even for training or any internship, and just have graduated with an MBA. So what is done with them? Like, are they hired or they are given some training and then they are put to the slot?
It depends on the role that you are applying for, Priyal. I have joined a corporate directly from my college. The internship is also, I was a fresher. And in the job also, I was a fresher. So I don't think that discrimination exists everywhere. It depends on the role. Now, if the role requires expertise and experience, then they will not hire a graduate, they will not hire a fresher. But there are specific roles where freshers are allowed, our freshers are welcome, and freshers are needed, right? So you have roles, and I don't think the differentiation happens because if you are experienced or you are a fresher. It all depends on the role. So if you apply for a manager's role as a fresher, nobody would select you. There may be extraordinary people who crack an interview first if they get one at that role, but generally you will have roles cut out for freshers and role cut out for experienced people. So
Okay, thank you so much.
you don't need to fear, you need to choose the role correctly.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Siddhi, if you could please ask a question.
Yeah, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, how the product management team participates in sales enablement?
Sales enablement. So good afternoon, Siddhi, first of all. So sales and marketing, first of all, for the general mass audience, sales marketing means same. Few days back, I was talking to a policeman, and he asked me, "What job do you do?" So I told him, "Sir, marketing." हाँ तो बाइक लेके घूमते हो या कार में घूमते हो? I told him, "Sir, I'm not in sales, I'm in marketing." Right? So the point that I'm trying to make is sales and marketing go hand in hand. Specifically for pharma and healthcare, you would have e-commerce where sales means something else. They don't have sales reps, but categorically in pharma and in healthcare, you have sales rep. So your marketing team is the mind and your sales team is the heart. So if your heart stops running, you can't survive, right? So therefore, the strategies that you create have to be implemented, executed by the sales team. If your strategy is good and your execution is poor, you will have bad results. If your strategy is poor but execution is excellent, you'll still have slightly better result. But for excellent results, you need to have a strategy and A plus strategy and A plus execution. How can that happen? Only when the strategy is explained to the executor, that is the sales team, perfectly, efficiently, and give direction to the sales team. How should they execute a particular strategy, right? Or how they should execute a particular campaign. It is the product manager and the marketing team's role to explain this explicitly to the sales team without an iota of doubt or ambiguity. How should they execute a campaign? If you have made a strategy, you have followed it up with a wonderful campaign, and you have explained to the sales team without any ambiguity, you will have sure shot success. So sales enablement is marketing teams one of the key responsibility areas, without which their campaigns will not be successful unless they are doing it only on social media or digital channels where sales rep is not needed, but that's very rare.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sorry, we have one more person. Yes, I think Sneha is ready with her question as well. Sneha.
Good afternoon, sir. So my question was, based on a product data and a customer research, how do you plan a strategy and a roadmap for marketing?
Yeah, it's a very, very broad question, Sneha. A good question, but a very broad one, because what you do is, how do you so what is your background, Sneha? You are a B.Pharm student or an MBA student?
B.Pharm.
B.Pharm student. So what happens is, I'll have to go slightly basic here. What happens is, there is a product. Say there is an established product. There's a product already available in the market. It's not a new product. Now, every year the company decides on a particular growth that the product needs to achieve. This growth is decided based on the market data. So how is the category going? How is the molecule growing? And then how are the other brands growing? Vis-a-vis, what do you want? How much do you want your brand to grow with? Right? So you decide that. Now this growth will come from where? This growth for a pharma brand will come when more doctors prescribe your brand, if it's a prescription brand, and more patients buy post-prescription. So once they're prescribed, the patient also has to buy, because there is a leakage there. A doctor may prescribe Calpol, the patient will go and buy Dolo. So you might have got a prescription, but you have not got the actual sale. So this is the problem. So then you identify that to go from point A to point B, which customers can help you, and in what factor can they help you go from point A to point B. Now to make that shift, what are the challenges that you are facing, which you need to overcome so that the customers start support you and help you go from point A to point B. Once you identify that problem, you go deeper into it to identify the root cause of that problem. That why is the doctor not prescribing your brand for a particular disease? So let's take a simple example. For fever, the doctor can prescribe paracetamol. The doctor can prescribe mefenamic acid. Right? Please help me with the molecules, Pranav, if I go wrong. And a doctor can also prescribe a paracetamol plus mefenamic acid combination, I think, right? So your brand is a paracetamol brand. Now, how do you help? Why is the doctor not prescribing your brand? So you first need to check if the doctor is prescribing the molecule or not prescribing the molecule. Then you need to check what are the brands that they are writing in that molecule, and where is he or she writing your brand, and where are they not writing your brands. So is your growth going to come from the same disease area, or you need to identify new disease area where your brand can be written? Now this is the problem that you have identified. Then you have to formulate a strategy that help you overcome this problem. So that help you to get more prescription in the same disease or indication, or identify new indication. So your strategy will differ in both the cases. In the same indication, how can you go for more doctors? If you want to go for new indication, how can the same customers write for more indications? So your strategy will differ this way. It's a longer topic to explain. I think in short I can explain you this way, because you will need certain more exposure about how brand planning happens and how strategy definition happens.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, Sneha.
Thank you so much, Abhijit, for this wonderful session, and thank you for answering the questions. I'm pretty sure most of the questions have been answered satisfactorily. Definitely, certain places, as you just said some time back, the brand planning and all, it requires a lot of homework to be done with all those
Yes,
data and data analysis and everything. So that's absolutely fine. And thank you so much, Abhijit, for joining us.
my pleasure.
I'm sure all the viewers who will be watching this will have a lot to learn from you and your experience, and will definitely try to put in as many efforts or as much efforts as you have put into your journey, and will try to achieve things just like you have done. So,
All the best to all of them, and all the best to you and Pharmacad for doing a tremendous job.
thank you so much, Abhijit. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Leadership Lab. If you have any questions for our speakers or any suggestions for us, you can email to us on pharmacad.mumbai@gmail.com, and the title of the email should be the Leadership Lab. And we shall try to send your questions to the speakers and get the answers at the earliest. Thank you so much for supporting. Keep watching. Take care.